The village in it with a map and a plan. No place too tiny for this determined man. Crossing the counties one by one, you'll see in every English corner a bit of history.
Welcome back to Rushcliffe again, everybody. Don't you just love the British weather? Yesterday you saw a village, Oathorpe, that was in brilliant bright sunshine, and this is how quickly the weather can change here in this country. It's now absolutely throwing it down. Typical. Anyway, hopefully the village that I'm in today will brighten everybody's spirits. This is the village that moved downhill to where it currently is. Its name is Kinoulton. Kinoulton, Signhilds Farm. Hello folks, here begins another week in Rushcliffe. We're going to be in the south of the district for the first 3 episodes before we veer north towards a town. This is Kinoulton, 10 miles to the southeast of the city of Nottingham. It's probably Saxon in origin and once had a brickmaking industry. It's close to the A46 or Foz Way, but not as close as it used to be. Now normally when we say something like that, it's the road that's moved. However, in this case, the entire village up sticks, relocating around a mile away to the east to the foot of Kinoulton Hill, and the road is believed to be one of the causes. The Foz Way, like any major road, has a history with highwaymen, and so being close to it would not have been desirable. There were other reasons for the move too, like the plague for example. Somewhat later, a much more emphatic factor towards pushing the centre of population down Kinoulton Hill was the construction of the Grantham Canal and the communication links it brought. The original village had a church, but nothing remains of it now, except for its graveyard. Once moved, Kinoulton was known for its brickworks. It was located on the canal bank, which enabled bricks to be easily transported. The remains of the wharf serving the brickyard are still evident on the canal bank today, in the form of stone edgings, although the remains are overgrown and difficult to see. Nonetheless, we will try. Let's get walking in the rain and explore the village that moved away. We start with a drive into Kinoulton from the A46 Foz Way. Few parishes in the area can rival Kinoulton when it comes to points of interest and legends. Let's start with the most obvious. The area we're driving through here was originally where the village was located. Now it's deserted its original hilltop site and reshaped itself on lower grounds. The site of the now lost village is one of several within the parish boundaries. Nothing remains of the old village, and all the houses up here are far newer than the ones which would have been here in the 18th century. The original village had a church, but it's long since gone. All that remains are a set of earthworks and the churchyard. If you didn't know it was there, you would struggle to know it existed. It was dedicated to St Wilfrid. The church was only one feature of the original village. In 1769, Kinoulton became quite famous as a spa retreat, and dressing rooms were constructed near a local spring. The water from that spring was said to have healing properties. The spa is named on modern maps, but the paths leading to it are overgrown now. In addition, there's a field a little distance from the site of St Wilfrids Church. In it lay for untold ages a huge granite-like boulder. According to tradition, the rock was thrown by the devil from Lincoln Hill to destroy the church. Legend says he was disgusted by the edifice on Kinoulton Hill. His aim was off and happily the missile fell a trifle short. I've come to the conclusion that the devil was terrible when it came to chucking stuff. That's 3 times now we've come across things he supposedly hurled, and every time he's missed. Geologists described it as an erratic boulder, the like of which were found at road corners by Oathorpe, Hickling and elsewhere. The rock is no longer there because it was broken up for building stone, mending roads and other profane uses. One of the other lost villages in Kinoulton Parish was Newbold. It was more considerable than the original Kinoulton village. According to some accounts, the site of Newbold is to be identified with modern Kinoulton, a theory which the Domesday Survey does not support. Others suggest it was instead Colston Bassett, but everyone agrees it was somewhere out that way. Newbold was perhaps absorbed into the modern settlement, but nobody really knows. The third lost village was called Lodge on the Wolds. In this instance, the site is known, though it's doubtful if it ever achieved the status of even a hamlet. It was probably never anything more than a lodge end and a secluded wayside inn. Of Warburg, the last of Kinoulton's lost villages, little is known. It lay towards Plumtree, and the only possible surviving element of it today is Warborough Grange. So you'll have noticed that first section was filmed pretty much in the dark. Even in the daylight it wouldn't have made any difference because all of that is well off the road and you wouldn't be able to see it even with the sun up. And you can probably hear in the background it's raining cats and dogs at the moment, so I'm just going to sit in the car and wait this out for a little bit before we actually start walking around because I don't want to get too wet. I'm used to the rain, but you know, if it's going to bucket it down like this, then there's not much point getting completely soaked. It's still a little bit dark anyway to actually start walking, so I'll see you in a moment when the light has become a little bit more favourable and the weather hopefully has done the same. Now we're in the current Kinoulton village. Our first landmark is the school. Education in Kinoulton goes back to at least 1847. That's when a national school was built here. The school you see today, though, is a lot bigger than the original. In 1966, the former school at Hickling, just down the road, closed and was turned into a village hall. We'll see that tomorrow. All the children transferred to Kinoulton, and as a result, the school was enlarged to cope with the extra pupils. Kinoulton Primary School is considered a culturally diverse establishment and has a curriculum to match. It even has some links with schools in Zambia. The War Memorial now. This one was unveiled in 1989, making it one of the newest in Nottinghamshire. It was originally erected to honour those who died in World War I only, until later names were added for those who died in World War II as well. Along with this, Kinoulton's churchyard features a grave and a memorial plaque for Lieutenant Claude William Henry Dobbs, who died in 1941. Dobbs was born in 1885 and died from pneumonia in Carlisle after taking up a military appointment in the Pioneer Corps. The memorial stands in the grounds of the village hall. The original hall was a wooden structure built on land purchased in 1959 and extended several times to take account of the growing population of the village. Building of the current hall was a millennium project, begun in December 1999. It was opened for use on the 24th of June 2000. It's designed to provide facilities for as many different types and sizes of events as possible, with a maximum occupancy of 200 people. The main hall is the major function room, with a wooden beam ceiling and wood block floor. It's an excellent room for large meetings, lectures, dances, weddings and parties for either adults or children. Okay, so between the village hall and the school, you've got a little park. As you can see here, typical park equipment there, slides, swings, climbing frames, all that kind of stuff. You can walk from the village hall's car park straight into the school's grounds, which is a little bit weird. I would have thought there'd been a security gate between the two, but apparently there isn't one. I don't know. Okay, we're going to head on towards the Grantham Canal next. Now, we know a bit about that already from the intro. We're going to learn a little bit more about why it was so important to Kinoulton when we get there. Now we've wandered up to the point where the Grantham Canal goes under the road. The canal was very important here. It's one of the main reasons why Kinoulton moved from its hilltop location to where it is today. Bricks were manufactured on the banks of this canal. The site of the Brickworks was close to what is now the old schoolhouse, and its canal-side location enabled easy transportation of the bricks. The brickyard workers lived in cottages in what is now Bailey's Row at the eastern end of the village. We'll see that in a bit. Kinoulton brick was used to produce a number of buildings in the village, including the church, field farm, and a house named Bishop's Close. Many other buildings that now have a rendered exterior were built with these bricks too. Now don't go trying to actually set foot in the site of the Brickworks because you can't do it. It's on the other side of the canal, a lot further down this towpath. It's been turned into a nature reserve these days. It's called Kinoulton Marsh, I believe. It's got a big pond and a few other bits and bobs. But yeah, you definitely can't access it yourself, so don't try. We're going to continue through the village now. We're heading up towards the other end, the eastern end of the village. It's all residential for this next bit, but we should, in theory, be coming across a pub somewhere along this particular stretch. We'll see. We are heading for that pub, but before we get to it, there's a chapel to discuss. This was Wesleyan and was built in 1879. It replaced a previous chapel that dated from 1831. Its seating capacity varied over time. For example, it could hold 180 in 1881, but that was reduced to 130 by 1911. The chapel is now a private residence. Adjoining the building was a hall, roughly 23 feet by 17 size-wise. There were no other buildings. Kinoulton only has one pub, that's this, the Neville Arms. There's been a pub on the site of the Neville since at least the 1860s. It was briefly called the Hind Arms in 1928, but the name was changed back to Neville after local disagreement. Census documents from the 19th century show that the Herrick family ran the pub and farmed in the area during the 1800s. Kinoulton once had two other pubs, namely the Volunteer and the Bull's Head. Now, as the sole remaining inn, the Neville Arms is considered the centre of the community. And out the front of the Neville Arms, you've got this lovely little green on a triangle, which is on the road to Hickling. That's the road to Hickling just there. And the village sign is behind me. There's a plaque on this. I haven't read it yet, so I'm just going to have a quick look and see what it says. With the contributions to make it, so not really anything massively historically important, but of course important to the residents of Kinoulton. You can see there on the sign, you can see the Grantham Canal at the bottom there, and there's also a church, I believe, in that top corner there. We haven't seen the church yet. That's going to be the last landmark on the route. We're going to head back towards that now. We're going to turn around at this point and make our way along a footpath which leads to the church. But again, for the most part, this is all residential. Kinoulton is a very residential village, to be honest with you. There isn't really much in the way of actual landmarks apart from the school, the canal, the Neville Arms, the church, and a few other bits and bobs which I've already shown you. There is a cricket club. We'll catch that on the way out because the next village is Hickling, and we need to go down there towards Hickling, obviously. And the cricket club is just on the right hand side, so we'll catch that as we leave Kinoulton behind. Let's make our way back to the church. Well, it appears we're not following that footpath at all now, because I thought there was a little bridge here at the end of Meadow Way, I think the name of this street is. You can see there's a dog bin there, and there is a footpath just there, but there's no way to get across the little stream that's behind that dog bin. And that's where the footpath is. It leads to the churchyard, but there's no bridge over the water, and I don't want to really get my feet wet. I'm wet enough this morning. So, alternative plan is to turn around, go back to the main road and go to the church that way. Finally, we come to the church. Now, as we know already, this isn't the original. That was St Wilfrids on the hilltop. This is St Luke's Church, built in 1792 by the Earl of Gainsborough to replace St Wilfrids. It's a red brick building with a chancel, nave, west porch and a 3-stage tower. The tower contains a clock and 12 bells, and the church has a low-pitched roof. At some point, a chapel of ease was erected in the village on a site subsequently occupied by Field Farm, just west of where St Luke's Church is today. The vicarage for St Wilfrids was built adjacent to that chapel in the 1720s. St Luke's was consecrated by Dr. William Markham, the Archbishop of York, in 1793. It was later described as a mean and depressing red brick church, whose ugliness is partly relieved by a luxurious growth of ivy. By 1864, the church was described as having a handsome gallery at its western end, which could hold 200 people. It was used by musicians to provide accompaniment for hymns until a harmonium was bought. The church was in a very bad state of repair by the mid-1920s, and so it was restored, reopening on the 11th of March, 1926. As we leave the village to head towards the next one, we have to talk about the cricket club. Kinoulton Cricket Club was founded in 1924 and holds the ECB Clubmark accreditation, which shows its commitment to being safe, effective and child-friendly. The ground is situated on Hickling Lane and boasts superb facilities, and much like the village hall, the clubhouse is also available to hire for private functions. That'll do us for Kinoulton, everyone. Join me tomorrow in the next village, where once again the Grantham Canal will make an appearance. This time though, we're at one of its best known beauty spots. See you there. Now, just before I go, remember, this video is part of a huge project to visit every civil parish in England. That's more than 10,000. These routes are pre-planned, and due to time constraints, I can't cover every detail or walk down every street. Please don't complain if this video missed something out. I pronounce names how I choose to. I am very aware that local dialect may vary, and I don't take kindly to criticism about this. You've been warned. It's impossible to know everything too. If this video was terrible, make your own. If you're a regular watcher of The Village Idiot, you're not the only one. If you've got a small business, why not use my videos to advertise it? Leave a comment below if you're interested. And finally, thanks for watching this episode, everybody. Give us a like and a subscribe if you've enjoyed this episode, and share it with your friends and relatives. It all helps to keep this mission going. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as The Village Idiot, and I'm out.